TV manufacturers have been lying to you. And that lie is silently destroying the picture quality you paid thousands of dollars for. You walked out of the store with a television that looked perfect on the showroom floor. You brought it home. You plugged it in. And within a week, something felt wrong. The picture looked dim. Movies felt fake. Dark scenes turned into muddy gray messes. You blamed your eyes. You blamed the content. You blamed everything except the actual problem. The TV itself is sabotaging you. Every major brand, Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, Vizio, ships their TVs with settings designed for one place and one place only: the showroom floor. Under brutal fluorescent lights, competing with 50 other screens. Those settings are not optimized for your living room. They are optimized to grab your attention for 5 seconds while you are standing in an aisle at Best Buy. And the second you bring that TV home, those same settings turn against you. Today, I am exposing 7 hidden settings the TV industry buries in submenus on purpose. Because a TV that looks its best out of the box is one they cannot upsell you on. Stick around for number 1. It takes 30 seconds, costs nothing, and it is the single reason my 7-year-old TV still looks better than most brand new sets I walk into. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which settings are destroying your picture right now and exactly how to fix every single one of them. No technical jargon, no expensive calibration equipment, just 7 menu changes that take less than 10 minutes total and make your TV look the way it was always capable of looking. Every setting in this video is based on one criteria only: what actually improves picture quality and a real living room. Not what the manual says, not what the salesperson claims, what works. If you want settings you can trust, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like so this reaches people before they give up on a TV they do not need to replace yet. Comment below, tell me which TV you own and which setting shocked you most. I read every single comment. Links to brand-specific menu paths for Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, and Vizio are down in the description. Check those after you finish here. Setting 7. The motion setting that makes every movie look fake, the label, the factory default that destroys cinema. What it is? Motion smoothing. Auto Motion Plus on Samsung. True Motion on LG. Motion Flow on Sony. Motion Interpolation on others. Every brand names it differently. That is part of the trick. Context: movies are filmed at 24 frames per second. That has been the standard for nearly 100 years. It is the rhythm your eyes expect from cinema. But your TV runs at 60, 120, or even 240 frames per second. So the processor does something sneaky. It invents fake frames in between the real ones, smoothing the motion until everything looks like it was shot on a camcorder in someone's living room. I have been adjusting TVs in homes for over 15 years. 9 out of 10 people I visit have this setting cranked up without knowing it. They paid $2,000 for a TV and they have been watching a distorted version of every movie ever since. Here is what happens when motion smoothing is on. Hollywood films look like soap operas. Dramatic scenes lose their weight. Action sequences feel cheap. The entire emotional rhythm director spent months crafting gets replaced with artificial smoothness. Your brain notices something is wrong even if you cannot name what it is. That is motion smoothing. The exact fix? Grab your remote. Open Picture Settings. Look for Motion Smoothing, True Motion, Motion Flow, Auto Motion Plus, or Motion Interpolation. Turn it off completely. Takes 10 seconds. Costs nothing. The second you do it, movies will snap back into looking the way the director actually shot them. Is this setting ever useful? Yes, if you are looking for it. Some people prefer it for live sports. Fast camera pans stay smoother. That is fine. Enable it only for sports and turn it off for everything else. But here's the thing. Most TVs reset this setting every time a firmware update hits. So check it again every few months. Because the next setting is even worse. It is quietly blocking half the features you paid for and staying active even after you switch to the correct picture mode. Who it's for? Anyone who thinks movies look strangely cheap or fake on their new TV? Anyone who hears the term soap opera effect and recognizes it immediately. Who should skip it? Nobody. Turn this off. Period. Setting 6. The factory preset designed to deceive you, the label, the showroom lie you are living with every single night. What it is? Picture mode. Vivid. Dynamic. Standard. The preset your TV shipped on. Context. Here is something TV manufacturers will never admit. The picture mode your TV ships on was not designed for your living room. It was designed for one environment and one environment only: the showroom floor at the electronics store. Under those brutal fluorescent lights, a TV has to scream for attention. So they crank the brightness, saturate the colors, and blow out the contrast until the TV looks like a neon sign. It sells units. It is a lie about how the TV is supposed to look at home. Be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually changed this setting? If you cannot remember, you are watching a demo mode right now, every single night in your own home. I have walked into homes with brand new $4,000 OLEDs still running in vivid mode. The owners tell me the picture looks okay, but not great. Of course it does not. The TV is actively working against them. Skin tones look sunburned. Grass glows radioactive green. Whites are blown out. It is exhausting to watch. And they have been watching it for years without knowing why. The exact fix? Open your picture settings and switch movie, cinema, or filmmaker mode. That is it. That one click fixes roughly half of every picture complaint I have ever heard. The colors will look slightly warmer at first. That is normal. Your eyes are recalibrating from months of fake brightness. Give it 3 days. You will never go back. A calibration technician charges $250 to do what you just did in 3 seconds. That is the scam. They are counting on you not knowing that one menu setting does most of the work. Is vivid mode ever correct? No. Is there a reason manufacturers ship TVs this way? Yes, if you are looking for it. Vivid mode makes TVs look brighter and more colorful in stores where dozens of screens compete for attention. At home, it destroys accuracy. But here's the thing. Changing the picture mode only goes so far if the next setting is still turned up. And it is the one that makes every face on your screen look plastic. Who it's for? Anyone who has never changed picture mode since unboxing their TV? Anyone who thinks their expensive TV looks worse than they expected. Who should skip it? Nobody. Switch to cinema or movie mode immediately. Setting 5. The sharpness lie that ruins every face, the label, the setting that adds nothing but destroys everything. What it is? Sharpness. A slider that ships at 50% or higher on most TVs. Context. Most people assume sharpness makes the picture look clearer. That is exactly what the industry wants you to believe. But here's the truth. Sharpness does not add detail to your picture. It cannot. The detail either exists in the signal or it does not. What sharpness actually does is draw fake artificial outlines around every edge on the screen. And manufacturers ship your TV with that setting cranked up to 50, sometimes higher, because high sharpness looks punchy in a 5-second showroom glance. Here is what is actually happening inside your TV. The processor scans every frame looking for edges, the line between a face and the background, the border of a letter, the outline of a tree. Then it sharpens those edges by darkening one side and brightening the other. Faces get a crunchy plastic halo. Text on news tickers gets a ghost outline around every letter. Grass looks like it was drawn with a magic marker. It does not look detailed. It looks wrong. I have opened settings menus on TVs where the homeowner swore the picture was perfect. I dropped the sharpness from 50 down to 10. Their jaw drops. Suddenly faces have pores again. Fabric has texture. Everything looks real. They have been staring at a cartoon for 3 years and never realized it. The exact fix? Open your picture settings. Find sharpness. Drop it to 0 or 10, depending on your TV brand. Some Samsung models want it around 10. Most LG and Sony sets look best at 0. Do not worry. The picture will not look soft. It will look natural for the first time, probably ever. Is high sharpness ever useful? No. Does lowering sharpness reduce detail? No, if you are looking for it. Sharpness does not create detail. It creates artifacts, fake edges that were never in the original image. Lowering sharpness removes those artifacts and reveals the actual picture underneath. But here's the thing. TV reviewers at electronic stores will tell you high sharpness makes the TV pop. That is because popping sells TVs. Accurate pictures do not. You have been trained to prefer the wrong thing. My friend Sarah bought an LG C3 old and called me 3 weeks later saying faces looked weird. Sharpness was set to 60. I walked her through lowering it to 0. She texted me an hour later, "I cannot believe I was watching it like that." Everything looks real now. Who it's for, anyone who thinks faces look too sharp or plastic, anyone who sees halos around text or bright objects. Who should skip it? Nobody. Lower sharpness to 0 or 10 immediately. Setting 4. The hidden crop that steals part of every show. The label, the setting that silently cuts off the edges. What it is? Overscan. A holdover from old tube TVs that most modern sets still enable by default. Context: your television is probably cutting off between 2 and 5% of the outer edge of every single thing you watch. You are literally missing part of the picture. Not a big part, but enough that sports scores get clipped, subtitles sit too close to the edge, and movie framing feels slightly off without you knowing why. The setting is called Overscan, and it is a holdover from the old tube TV era. Back when analog broadcasts had messy edges that engineers hid by zooming in slightly. Modern digital signals do not have messy edges. But manufacturers still ship most TVs with Overscan turned on because it makes the picture look very slightly larger at first glance. And on a showroom floor, every extra pixel matters. The exact fix? Open your picture settings and look for aspect ratio, picture size, or screen format. You want to change it to one of these options: screen fit, just scan, full pixel, original, dot by dot, or 1:1. Every brand names it differently. That is intentional. They do not want you finding it. Once you switch to the correct mode, you will instantly see the picture pull back slightly, and what you are seeing is the full image the director actually framed. A picture you paid full price for that your TV has been quietly clipping since the day you plugged it in. Is Overscan visible? Yes, if you are looking for it. Subtitles will move slightly away from the edge. Sports scores will have more breathing room. The framing will look more balanced. But here's the thing. Overscan is visible. The next setting destroys your picture completely invisibly, and it stays active even after you switch to movie mode. Who it's for? Anyone who watches sports and notices scores getting cut off. Anyone who uses subtitles regularly. Who should skip it? Nobody. Turn Overscan off immediately. Setting 3. The contrast trap hiding inside movie mode. The label, the sabotage that survives even after you fix everything else. What it is? Dynamic contrast. Contrast enhancer on Samsung. Dynamic contrast on LG. Advanced contrast enhancer on Sony. Context: here is the part that always makes my customers furious. You do everything right. You switch to movie mode. You turn off motion smoothing. You drop the sharpness. And you still have one setting quietly sabotaging your picture in the background. It is called dynamic contrast. Some brands call it contrast enhancer. All the same trick. What it does is constantly adjust the brightness of your picture on the fly. When a dark scene comes on, it crushes the shadows until you cannot see what is in them. When a bright scene comes on, it blows out the highlights until faces look like they are glowing. Every second of every frame, this setting is fighting the director's intention. And here is the worst part. Switching to movie mode usually does not turn it off. It stays on in the background no matter what preset you choose. Manufacturers do this because dynamic contrast looks aggressive in short clips, the kind that play on a showroom demo reel. But in a real movie watched from start to finish, it wrecks the emotional impact of every dark scene the director carefully lit. I have had customers convinced their brand new OLED was defective because dark scenes looked muddy. Every single time it was this one setting. I turn it off. Their faces change. They see what they actually bought. The exact fix, in your picture settings, look for dynamic contrast, contrast enhancer, or advanced contrast. Turn it off. Do not set it to low. Do not set it to medium. Off. Do the same for anything called black enhancer, black level adjustment, or dynamic backlight. All of them are the same category of tampering. Your TV's panel is good enough to handle the picture without these tricks. That is what you paid for. Is dynamic contrast ever useful? No. Does turning it off make dark scenes too dark? No, if you are looking for it. Dynamic contrast does not reveal shadow detail. It crushes it. Turning it off restores the detail that was always there. But here's the thing. Turning off dynamic contrast only fixes half the brightness problem. The other half comes from a setting buried in your general menu, and it is secretly capping how bright your TV can ever get. Who it's for? Anyone who thinks dark scenes look crushed or muddy, anyone who notices brightness jumping around during movies. Who should skip it? Nobody. Turn dynamic contrast off immediately. Setting 2. The energy saver scam that kills jar, the label, the eco setting that destroys the picture you paid extra for. What it is? Eco mode. Energy saving. Power saving. Ambient light sensor. Context. A couple in Ohio called me last month about their new $1,800 HDR TV. They said HDR movies look flat and disappointing, nothing like the demos at the store. I asked them to check one setting. Sure enough, Eco mode was on. I told them to turn it off. They called back an hour later. They said the TV looked like a completely different television. Because it basically was. Here is what is actually happening. Eco mode, sometimes called energy saver, power saving, or ambient light sensor, automatically caps your TV's backlight to reduce power consumption. Sounds reasonable. It is not. Because the feature does not just dim your TV slightly. On most models, it cuts peak brightness by 30 to 40%. That is a catastrophic hit to picture quality. And it completely breaks HDR content, which is specifically designed to use the full brightness range of the panel. The conspiracy piece is this. Manufacturers enable Eco mode by default so they can print better energy efficiency ratings on the box. Those ratings look great in marketing materials. But they come at the cost of the HDR experience you specifically paid extra for. You bought an HDR TV. They are shipping you an HDR TV with HDR turned down. The exact fix. Open your general settings. Not your picture settings, your general settings. Look for Eco mode, energy saving, power saving, or ambient light sensor. Turn every single one of them off. Yes, your TV will use slightly more electricity. The difference over a year? Maybe $12. For that $12, you get back the full picture quality you spent $2,000 to have in the first place. Is Eco mode ever useful? No. Does turning it off waste energy? No, if you are looking for it. The energy savings are minimal. The picture quality loss is catastrophic. This is not a fair trade. My coworker James bought a Sony X95K and complained that HDR looked dim. Eco mode was on. I told him to turn it off. He called me the next day and said, "I thought HDR was overrated." Turns out my TV was just crippled by default. But here's the thing. None of that matters if the single most important HDMI setting is still disabled. And on most TVs, it ships disabled by default. That is next. And this one is the big one. Who it's for? Anyone whose HDR content looks dim or flat. Anyone who enabled Eco mode thinking it was a good idea. Who should skip it? Nobody. Turn Eco Mode off immediately. Setting 1. The HDMI setting blocking everything you paid for, the label, the crippled input that makes your $4,000 TV perform like a $600 panel. What it is? HDMI enhanced format. HDMI UD color on Samsung. HDMI 2.1 mode on LG. Input Signal Plus on Sony. Deep color on others. Context: if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Buried on every modern TV, LG, Samsung, Sony, TCL, Hisense, all of them, is a setting that most homeowners have never seen, never touched, and never been told about. Depending on the brand, it is called HDMI Enhanced Format, HDMI UD Color, HDMI 2.1 Mode, Input Signal Plus, or Deep Color. And on most TVs, for most inputs, it ships turned off. Here is what that means in real terms. When this setting is off, your TV physically cannot receive 4K at 60 frames per second. It cannot receive HDR. It cannot receive Dolby Vision. No matter how expensive your TV is, no matter how good your streaming device is, no matter how fast your internet is, your TV is silently rejecting the best signal it is capable of displaying. And you would never know because the picture still looks okay, just not like what you paid for. I have been in this industry long enough to see thousands of TVs, and I would estimate that 7 out of 10 have this setting turned off on at least one input right now. 7 out of 10. That means most people reading this are watching a downgraded picture at this exact moment. They paid for a Ferrari. They are driving it in second gear. The exact fix: open your general settings and find External Device Manager, General, or Inputs. Look for the option named HDMI Enhanced Format, HDMI UD Color, HDMI 2.1 Mode, Deep Color, or Input Signal Plus. You will see a list of your HDMI ports. Turn the setting on for every port you actually use, especially the one your Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick, game console, or Blu-ray player is plugged into. Your TV will ask you to confirm, say yes. It may briefly go black, that is normal. When it comes back, HDR will work. Dolby Vision will work. 4K 60 will work. Everything the box promised. For the first time since you bought it. This is the single setting that separates people who think their TV is pretty good from people who think their TV is amazing. Same TV. Same content. One menu toggle. A home theater installer charges $200 to come set this up. You just did it in 30 seconds for free. Is this setting always necessary? Yes, if you use external devices. Does every HDMI port need it enabled? No, if you are looking for it. Only enable it on ports you actually use. Unused ports can stay off. My neighbor Kevin bought a TCL 6 series and complained that 4K streaming looked no better than 1080p. HDMI enhanced format was off. I walked him through turning it on. He sent me a photo of his screen an hour later with the caption, "I've been watching fake 4K for 6 months." Who it's for? Anyone using a streaming stick, game console, or Blu-ray player. Anyone who paid extra for 4K and HDR and thinks it looks underwhelming. Who should skip it? Nobody with external devices. Enable this immediately. Here's: the industry does not want this stated plainly. Your TV is not broken. Your TV is being sabotaged by factory defaults designed to sell units in a showroom, not deliver quality in your living room. Every setting on this list was enabled on purpose. Motion smoothing makes TVs look smooth in demo loops. Vivid mode makes colors pop under fluorescent lights. High sharpness grabs attention in 5-second glances. Eco mode prints better energy ratings on the box. HDMI enhanced format stays off, so casual buyers do not get confused during setup. And every single one of those decisions prioritizes the sale over your experience. Because a confused buyer is an easy buyer. They grab the familiar name, pay the familiar price, take the TV home, and never dig into the settings. And 3 years later, when the TV still does not look right, they assume it is time to upgrade. It is not. Know your settings. Know which ones destroy picture quality. Know how to fix them. Then spend 10 minutes fixing them, not 10 hours. Not hiring a professional, just 10 minutes in your settings menu. Because the best TV is not the newest one. It is the one that is finally set up correctly. So, if this guide helped you fix your TV without spending money on a calibrator or a replacement, share it with someone still struggling with their picture. You might save them hundreds of dollars. All brand-specific menu paths for Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, and Vizio are down in the description. I update them regularly as manufacturers change their menus. Subscribe for more content that exposes the settings manufacturers bury on purpose. Comment below, which setting shocked you most? Or tell me which TV you own and I will give you exact menu instructions for your model. I read every single comment. See you in the next one.